It wouldn't be a conference without technical difficulties. So yeah. Okay, Jessica, can you please turn your volume down? Sorry. Okay, we're good. Okay, cool. So yeah, we're gonna start with Jessica. Jessica is one of my favorite SCORE mentors. Yes, she's a forward thinker and she has a business called Mobile Enterprise. Fun fact, I met Dr. Garner in person when Jessica was pitching Mobu. I don't know if you remember that, Jessica, at the Hope Worldwide conference. Woo! Yes, and then she's had radio shows, podcasts, and she has Real Solutions for Real People, which is a counseling consulting business. And also, I'm going to go over Nikki. Nikki is amazing. She is the founder of Buy From a Black Woman. She has some 478 ties, you know. Yeah. So one thing I love about her is about Buy From a Black Woman. The mission is to spread awareness while lending support to Black women business owners. She founded Buy From a Black Woman when she asked the universe for instructions on how she should use her gifts and talent to help empower her community. We have Andreas. He is not there. He is there. He is. We have Andreas. We all in the community might know Andreas from different community events, different community organizations. As we know, he's the marketing guy that's always giving the business plug on social media. He has Banked Out Radio, Southern Center for Choice Theory. He works with his family, so this is a family business. And he also has Macon Bib FM in the cook shop, him and his wife. So I'm excited to announce Andreas. And we have Dr. Nicole Gardner Scott. She's one of my mentors, guys. Yes, she's amazing. I'm part of her Amount Financials sister community group, which has been an incredible resource for finance education and just for like community resources, being able to have a safe space for Black women to share financial resources, how to set ourselves better for the future and have accountability. I went to first TED Talk in person because I listened to Dr. Garner in a TED Talk, and she is a highly sought out entrepreneur. She's done so many incredible things, and I'm so excited to have all of you guys today. So thank you so much for coming here today.
Thank you. And thank you for putting it on. I am beyond proud of you. You are doing high level. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. This was all a dream, to see all of you guys be in Macon, but look at what technology has done. All of this is possible through technology. So to get started, my first question for everyone is, what is one thing that you have learned as an entrepreneur or as a community resource provider? What is one thing you've learned the last 4 or 5 months that is going to change your outlook on building for 2021?
So first, can you guys hear me pretty good?
Yep.
Awesome, because I turned it down. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't turned up too much. And so thank you guys again for allowing me to be here in this space. What I've learned during this time is that I didn't know that I was so resilient as I may have thought I was pre-COVID. And so what I meant by that is as business, I guess, changed for me. So I had to learn to reinvent myself. I had to learn to understand my customer and truly understand my customer. And I also had to realize that I had to use technology more. And so it has taught me to kind of be more adaptable to our ever-changing lives, not just as an individual or as community members, but as the world changes. I feel for 2021 that I'm probably more prepared than I've ever have, because I really, like you all said, resource-wise, I had to really dig deep to find resources that allow for me to stay in business. And I'm grateful that I had not lost much business during this time, and actually in some areas picked up business a little bit more, because you guys know I have like 100 businesses. And so it allowed for me to become stronger in some areas. In those areas that I thought I was strong at, I found I was a little bit weaker. But with all the resources out there, it allowed for me to become more resilient and be able to push through all of that.
That's good. Well, I'll jump in there next. I feel like this year has taught us that the magic is in the pivot for many of us, and how you can adjust and how you can admit that there is no more returning back to what we thought was normal, that moving forward is all about change, and your adaptation to change is what has been making this a very pivotal year for all of us. I think for those of us who are kind of sticking a toe into the world of technology, we here. We are all the way here. And what you want to do going into 2021 is try to figure out how to be ahead of the curve, right? To be resistant to what's going on is going to make you very archaic very quickly.
Yeah.
The quicker that you can accept that we have entered into a new norm, that there has been a behavior change that's going to come about from this. So if you remember, not for 9/11, prior to 9/11, you could go through the airport very quickly, right? You didn't have to deal with TSA and pouring out your water bottle and taking off your shoes. Then from there on out, your experience at the airport was different. And so there's going to be behavior changes that come from 2020. There's going to be a lot of things that moving forward are going to be different. How do people trust being out at public events? How do people digest their information? Everyone who wasn't necessarily into digesting their information live, they're now into it, right? From the versus campaigns that you started seeing, the battles and the concerts. When Babyface did his, my mom opened Instagram, right? She was like, I gotta see this. I never would have thought my mom would have got on Instagram. It's a behavior change. How much she stays on it, that's to be determined. But she's now entered into that space, whereas never before that would have happened. So I just feel like the pivot is where the beauty is in all of this.
So I'll go next. For me, especially being a community leader, the magic is with making sure you have a strong community. Where before doing and not really seeing or even working collectively and collaborating together, but having community that you can reach out to, especially when you're using technology, because as your point, none of us, not all of us are here in Macon, but here we are all together being able to talk to Macon, and that's because you have a strong community. So realizing the use of your community, what's in your community, and utilizing that and being okay with networking to them. All of us being in our houses, we can seem like we're alone, but if you have that strong community foundation, you can reach out and you realize you are not alone. You have a whole network at your fingertips, and you're able to do so much and have so much more access than before, and to properly use that and not be scared to reach out to those people who, there's so many people who you thought were unattainable, but because we're all in the house, now you can reach to them, do things that you never thought that you can do before. So realizing that community is important, and utilizing your network to build your network.
That's good.
Totally. Andres, do you want to share anything?
Yeah, I would, since I was having technical difficulties, so I had to switch to my phone.
Sorry about that.
What was it seems like we were talking about is this the question pertaining to the last 4 to 5 months?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, well, one thing I know I've learned is that, especially with the pandemic, that, anything can happen, so you have to always try to be prepared. And then look for the opportunity in things, because I've been able to grow one of my businesses. Actually, it's benefited from the pandemic. So
Have we all been ordering a lot of cookshop teas because we're stressed out?
I've been getting that and all the other various products that we sell. So like I've been selling New Jersey, was it South Carolina? Got some Kennesaw orders the other day. So yeah, it's actually been, an eye opener to realize, with everything in life, depending on how you look at it, there's always opportunity for growth, learning, and just being able to take advantage of the situations that come about. But also being prepared too, because I've seen a lot of other businesses where it's hurt, and no one ever thinks about a pandemic slowing down the economy. It's like one of the last things in our mind. But just
Yeah.
like I said, what I can take from that is just being prepared, more prepared, and thinking outside the box, but then also looking for the opportunities in the situations like this.
Okay. So we know that we might have people that are probably here today that when we think of the word entrepreneurship, we might be scared, or we might be navigating through unknown. We have an idea. We don't know if we should persist, if we don't have enough sales. Like, what gave you guys that confidence to just, let it all out on the table to say, this is what I'm going to pursue? How did you deal with adversity and doubt inwardly? If you had, and like, how did you navigate through that?
I'll jump in. Okay. So when I first started Buy From a Black Woman, I had no idea that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't go into the realm okay, I'm going to own my own business. It wasn't even something I even thought about. Even when I did start Buy From a Black Woman, it started off as a blog, so I didn't even go into it with the fact that this is going to be a nonprofit organization that's going to grow and grow and all that stuff. It's just something I wanted to do to bring a voice and a light to my community so they could have a platform. When I did finally decide to step out, and I shared this yesterday, my mother was like, who you think would be the most supportive person in your life when you're starting something. She was like, this is dumb. Like, you're silly. This is not going to happen. So not even having the support of my mother, lots of doubt came in. So that's when you have to be like, okay, trust yourself, trust your intuition, because if you're not, you can't expect other people to support you. You feel like you don't even have the support from your mom, right? So of course there was lots of doubt there, lots of insecurities, just not knowing that I was supposed to do this. But this is where my faith and my trusting and just okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and just keeping yourself going. Mental health, especially now, is such a hot thing to make sure that you have that. And as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you really have to have a good foundation and check in with yourself, because you're going to have a lot of doubts, and you're going to do a lot of comparison, and you're going to be looking at other people and like, oh, well, they're doing this. Why am I not doing that? And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be overnight. Even the people you think came up overnight, they were doing it for about 8, 9, 10 years, and they just got that one thing. So it's going to be a lot of work. So you're going to have doubts, and that's going to be normal. So don't think oh my gosh, I'm insecure about this, or I'm doubt, or I cannot do that. That's really all part of the process to help you get to the next phase. But just keep going. I always say, if an idea came to you, you're the only person who can make that idea real. So don't ever doubt that the idea is not going to work out, because it came to you and wanted to be birthed through you. It said, hey, you, I'm here. Let's make this happen. So even through all the doubts and everything, just keep going. You got this.
Yeah, I remember you sharing, if the idea comes to you, it's supposed to come through you. That's a quotable.
I appreciate hearing that, Nikki. My experience was a little bit different. I actually grew up around entrepreneurs. In fact, 2 things that was instilled in me and my family is always buy real estate, always have a business. But I wanted to do something different within my family, and that was break a generational curse. And so my family, yes, they bought real estate. We were developers. They always had a business, but some of my family members, their backup plan was their business. It wasn't their primary. So they always kept their jobs. And about 2 years ago, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 18 years old. And 2 years ago, I wanted to break a generational curse. And so my crazy self went on a 2-week vacation to Dubai and the Maldives, and I came back and quit my job. So a little bit different story. I feel like fear is a little bit fake, because sometimes it scares you into doing things, and sometimes it scares you out of doing things. But I would say too that I gave myself a year. The first 6 months of that year, I actually replaced my income of my job, And the second 6 months, I maintained that income. And then I also upped my 401k contribution because my job had matching 401k. And then I stuck to that year's time. So my vacation, my birthday is New Year's Day. I went on vacation for 2 weeks. And as soon as I returned back from vacation, it was January 6th, I had to quit. So I was dedicated to myself enough to say, hey, you said a year ago you weren't quit. You can't backtrack. And so you have to hold yourself accountable that way as well. My doubt came during that time because my family, no one has ever done this. I was crazy, you know, I'm crazy to move to Georgia by myself and everything else. So you just got to sometimes do it scared. And God got your back. He'll order your steps and allow for you to flourish the way you are destined to be. And you just got to do it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it.
I'll jump in after Jessica. But listen, ain't nothing to it but to do it. It will get you through all of life. So my journey, I started entrepreneurship probably when I was like 5 years old. I was the candy lady in the neighborhood. I used to like resell my toys I would get for Christmas and my birthday to the point my parents would be like, okay, we're not getting you nothing else. But I'd be like, look, I got all this cash. Like this is good. We're going somewhere. And I'm very blessed that my parents caught on to where I had that ambitious energy very young, which is why I'm so passionate about kids now, because once you start to recognize that energy, you have to guide it to the right way, because the world is trying to pull that energy into so many opportunities, but that's not on a positive track. So they recognized that in me very young. I went to college knowing I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do, what my skill set was. And what's so great now is that there's so many things like Elevate Macon and co-working spaces and programs that really help you foster your entrepreneurship. But I came up during that space where it was like, you know, are you going to get a real job? Is there going to be, you know, what's your real plan? And I was like, me. Like, I'm my plan. I'm how I'm going to do this, because I seen everyone around me working, and that didn't seem to give them any more stability than those that I saw in the entrepreneur space. So just two things I wanted to touch on. One, you asked about that fear, but I don't even think I fully introduced myself, but I'm a money coach. The name of my company is Amount Financial, and I do a lot of money and business coaching for across the globe. And a thing that I realized mostly is that people feel like entrepreneurship deals with all this fear, and corporate America is no fear. It's equal amounts of fear no matter which journey you take, right? Like the fear is just a part of the journey. The fear is where the lesson lies. So either you're, you know, in fear of how you're going to get your next client, or how are you going to scale your business, or you're in fear of how you're going to hold on to your job. How are you going to get a promotion? How are you going to, I mean, that fear is just an agitator to amplify your growth. So it's no way you get to escape it. You just get to control how you deal with it. So that was something I definitely learned along the way. And then that depth to believe in yourself. I feel like the pandemic has called all of that to the front line, has called all of that into action. Either you believe in yourself, or you could completely bottom out. And that's believing in yourself in the most. If any of you are on today and you don't consider yourself an entrepreneur, before we're done, you should consider yourself an entrepreneur after that. Because there's nothing that you can 100% rely on. You have to have multiple streams of income. You have to have multiple, I think Jessica says she has 100 businesses. Do what you can to your capacity. You know, Jessica might have high level capacity. I tend to follow on that stream too. I have a million things going on, but do what you can to your capacity. But there's nothing right now that says you could put all your eggs in one basket. It's a multitude of things that you have to show up in so that you can make sure that you are creating generational wealth and legacy for your family.
Oh, you want me to round it off? But my entrepreneurship journey, when I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur when I was a kid. I was doing the same thing as everybody else, selling candy, flipping it, case may be. Went into retail, did that, was the best salesperson there at a very young age, and was offered times to be promoted. Went to school for business, and then went out into the corporate world, working at Norfolk Southern, but very soon realized that, yeah, it was a good paying job, but they basically paid you enough to where you wouldn't follow your dreams. And kept seeing a common theme of there was other people there who wanted to be their own boss. Because, it's ingrained in a person that they know that they have a self-value. And I was like, you know what? I just got tired of it. I just quit. I quit during Christmas season with we had 5 or 6 kids at the time. It was a good number of them. And with most people, they'd be like, oh my God, you're so crazy. I even had people messaging me telling me, oh man, you sure you want? No, yes, I'm sure I want to do this. I know that I can build something to where I can control my own destiny. And that's what happened. Started with the counseling. Well, actually before that, had a music promotions company, and then started with a counseling business, got that going, and then was able to venture into other things that I have now. So just let's see here. What was the other part of that question? We all have fears and doubts in ourselves. We also have those that other people try to project onto us, and I'm susceptible to that at one point in time. But like once I pushed past that mental blockage, I was like, you know what? What's the worst thing that could happen? You won't meet your goals. One of my personal beliefs of success is not the things that everybody else see you accomplish. It's the small steps that you take to complete the overall goal. That in itself is success to me. It's not obtaining X amount of dollars or X amount of cars or houses or things like that, all the material stuff. It's the little things that you do that are working to get you to that ultimate goal that you want to accomplish. So once I flipped the switch in my head as far as like how I saw success and what I want to accomplish, like I don't have a no. There's nothing that enters my mind. I get propositioned with different opportunities all the time. I'm gonna try them out. Either they're gonna work or they're not. They're either gonna meet a goal or they're not. And that's all it is to me. It's about hitting a goal. I do think fear holds some people back from their potential. But once you let go of that self-doubt, because there's no blueprint for everybody. Everyone's journey is different.
Totally.
You got to go out there and try it.
Yeah, totally. Thank you. You're right. We won't know if it fails unless we try. You're absolutely right. Thanks, Andreas. I'm gonna transition to these individual questions. So this one is for Dr. Garner. I once heard you say in your Legacy or Lose campaign about the net worth of Black family currently being $17,000, and it will be at 0 by 2053 if we don't do something about it. What are your thoughts when it comes to building for the future? What are some essentials that you feel are needed, or what is your advice to our local community members on how to prepare and equip themselves when they do not know where to start financially?
Okay, so I'm going to attempt to do an entire workshop in 2 minutes. Do I have 2 minutes, Christelle?
Yeah.
I'm going to walk you guys through this. First and foremost, for everybody who's tuned in right now, have you heard of the term racial wealth gap? If you have, drop a 1 into the chat so I could just see where we all are, if you've heard of the racial wealth gap. Okay, excellent. Okay, good. It looks like most of you have heard of the racial wealth gap. 2, do you understand that the racial wealth gap has almost doubled in the last 90 days? Okay. All right. So explaining really quickly what the racial wealth gap is. For those of us who have been in an instance where either you don't have access to the resources, the wealth opportunities, you're a part of a marginalized community, It could be based on systematic oppression, different things of that nature. Have you at a space where the amount of money that is in your possession, the amount of wealth opportunity that you have is significantly less than those who had access to a multitude of things, resources, land, money, opportunities for housing, labor force, all these different things. And so understanding that that gap is already there. Then you add the pandemic to it, where many of the frontline workers were Black people, Black and brown people who put their lives on the lines. And unfortunately, the pandemic, the virus itself has made many of us lose family members, people, loved ones, people near and dear to us. In the process of that, because many of us in our community feel like we have more time, right? We feel like we have more time. There were no wheels in place. There were no things to pass down wealth to the next generation. All the things that people were putting in place to make sure that they were building all these things for their family and doing this for their last name has now been turned over to the state, right? So if someone died and did not have a chance to map out anything as far as their estate planning, then their family members are now having to fight for what's rightfully theirs, what's rightfully in their name. And so I want to just make sure that very quickly we understand all the things that we need to have in place, just to make sure that we are setting our families up, that we are showing love to our families, and that they are in a position where they can be able to keep growing generation after generation. So very quickly, your generational wealth plan. And if you have some notes, if you have a way to take notes, your phone or whatever, I'm gonna go through this very quickly. You can follow up with me, shoot me a DM at Dr. Garner Scott or Amount Financial, and I'll send this all to you. But I know that we're on a time crunch and I respect time, so I'm gonna go through this very quickly. Having your generational wealth plan, starting with what is your family's mission statement? Right? What do you stand for as a family? Family could be you, your spouse, your kids. It could be you, your parents. It could be you and a community of people that you all are getting together to figure out life together as a whole. Whatever family looks like to you, that unit, what is your mission statement? What do you stand for? So you understand how to make your financial decisions based upon that Northern Star, based upon that internal GPS. 2, for those of you who are entrepreneurs, what is your business succession plan? If you are putting blood, sweat, and tears coming into your business day in, day out, doing all these different things, if anything was ever happen to you, where our prayer is that you have more than an Instagram left to pass on to people, right? So what is your business succession plan? How does your business continue if you're no longer able to be in it? How do you want it to continue? What do you envision for that? And then tapping into your estate planning. If you are 18 and up, you need a will, right? Many of us believe that wills are for senior citizens. Sometimes when I post about wills on my Instagram, they're like, people respond back, I need to get my grandmother to do a will, but you need to do yours with her. Like, you need to make sure that it's updated. If you moved, if you had a child, if you, beneficiaries have changed, any of those things. I had to advise a client last week. Her uncle passed away. He forgot to update the beneficiary from his ex-wife to his new wife. And his ex-wife hated him and she hates the whole family and she has all the money now. So those are things that you want to remember to take care of. So if you're 18 or up, making sure you have your will in place. Making sure that you have life insurance, right? Life insurance is for the living. Understanding how to use life insurance as a wealth building tool and not just something you think about as a death benefit. So you want to make sure you have that in place. And then lastly, just making sure you track all these different things will definitely put you in a very positive space. So sitting down with your family, making sure that you have your ownership records, like does your grandmother really own her house? Or did she do one of those reverse mortgages that they predatorily came after our communities, in the last few decades? So many people feel like their grandmother owns their house until she passes. And then you realize that house was never hers. Understanding your financials, that needs to all be in a place where someone has access to it. A list of all your properties. If you have properties, make sure you have the proper documentation. will, trust, all the passwords to everything that you have going on needs to be in place. Your legacy letters, what do you want to leave to your family members, your children, your children's children? What are your words? What is your narrative? What is your history? Making sure we do a better job of that in our community. And those are some of the things just to have in place. So I hope I didn't take too much time, but I just want to make sure you guys started to wrap your mind around some of those things to make sure that is in place.
Yeah, thank you so much. And also, guys, you can also follow her on Amount Financial and Dr. Garner Scott to learn more. She's always dropping tidbits. Yes. So next question is for Nikki. So you literally have built a platform out of a need. And what I appreciate about it, because like I think that so many times when I was starting out and I didn't know where to start, I was looking for my community first, right? So literally buy from a Black woman the word is so simple and it's so direct. As a Black woman, right, you not only have a directory, you also have a safe nurturing space that women partake in to grow and build together. So what are some tips you have for individuals looking for their community as they're building?
Thank you so much. So if you're looking for a community as you are building your community, ask yourself what are the things that you're looking for. So often we go into places thinking that's where we want to be because it seems nice, especially the power of social media. We're able to just see a one skewed view of everything. So you're like, oh, this is where I want to be. And then you get in there and you're like, this is not what I need. It's not feeding my soul. It's not feeding my business. I'm not even able to grow. So write down a list of the things that you want first. Like, what is the thing that you're looking for as you build your business or as you build your personal life, you build your friendship, whatever type of community is that you're looking for, whatever type of community you are looking to build. Also listen. You're making a list, right? And you want people to hear you, but are you also listening to other people who you want to be consumers of what it is that you're trying to provide? So make sure you're listening. Do a lot of listening sessions. Just have simple conversations like, oh, what are the things that you're looking for? What about this thing that you didn't have? Especially when it comes to competitors. I give myself, and a lot of people give me the nickname of Inspector Gadget. Like, I'm always digging deep into stuff, right? Like, I want to know how it works, how it fits, what you like, what you do not like. Make sure you're doing that also when it comes to building your community. What is it that you like about this community? What is it that you don't like about this community? Why don't you like that? My lights just went off because there's a thunderstorm, so there's that. But give thanks.
Part of pivoting, right? You just gotta.
Right. Well, that's Andrea's point, is always having a backup plan with technology because you just never know what's going to happen. So, yeah.
Wow, I gotta say, our panel was lit today.
But that's what you do, right? You gotta make sure you have everything in place so you don't, when other people are counting on you, make sure that they can count always. And that's an important part of building a community, making sure that you're listening to your community. And I just cannot stress enough, make sure you're listening to your community. The community will always tell you the things that you need. We can go and we're self so much that we might not think that we can see what other people need, because like, oh, well, this is what I want to execute, this is what I want to give them. And a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we try to put a product out there, but we didn't even listen to our consumers to see, if that's what they needed. And then when it's not moving or it's not selling, you're like, well, why isn't this not selling? Your community didn't need that. They didn't want that. They didn't even tell you that that's something that they wanted. You just go force it on them. And if you're especially just starting out, you cannot force your items onto your consumer. You're not there yet, right? You can do that down the line, but in the beginning, you have to listen. As entrepreneurs, we're solving problems. So what problem are you solving? But you'll only know that the problem is there once you listen to the people who are telling you that they need your help.
Thank you, Nikki. And also, Nikki has a lot of great resources on her pages. Please follow her. She put her info in the chat. So last question is for Jessica. So we all know Jessica is a capital nurturer, right? As an experienced entrepreneur, you're able to navigate through different spaces and offer resources to individuals that are starting out. It takes a lot of skills to be able, like Nikki said, to listen and draw out resources. What are some tips you can offer a person that wants to be an entrepreneur and doesn't know where to begin?
For starters, I did also place it in our chat box, but I'll be quick about it. For one, the top top 3 that I have for you all is to have a plan. As she shared before, we always think we're so great and so smart. So when we come up with business ideas, we just assume it's going to work because it came out of our heads. But unfortunately, that's not exactly how that works. You have to have a plan. And a part of it is it even feasible? Is it sustainable? What are you going to do if someone actually says yes? So you have to have a little bit of a plan. And so as a SCORE mentor, what I always encourage all my mentees to do is have a business plan. You can do a one pager, just something, get the thought out of your head onto paper so that you're able to literally move to the next step. And then lastly, I always encourage people to have a mentor. A lot of mistakes that we have in life would be super easy to get through if we had someone that can guide us a little bit, to give us some insight and educate us on things that we want to avoid. And so my quickest advice in most to everyone is be the change that you want to see, and also make sure that you're making an impact no matter what is going on around you. And the key to that is energy shifting. So switch from having an employee mindset to an entrepreneur mindset, and that will allow for you to get to the next level of whatever your dreams may be from the time that you thought of it all the way to the time of you acting it out. So thank you for that, guys.
Awesome.
You
So
guys, just
Andres,
a quick update. You have about 3 minutes left, and
Yes.
we'll be wrapping up around 12:25.
okay, so my last question's for Andreas. So we all know the first step is to start a business, and that might be the easy part, right? But based on your experience as a person that started businesses, but they're sustained, what is like an advice that you have based on your experience to create something that's sustainable for a longer period of time?
Pretty much everybody on the panel has answered this question. One, having a plan, but then also listening to your consumers. Just like Nikki was pointing out, some people try to push product or services onto the marketplace and they're just not ready for it. In order to sustain a business, one, you got to offer the right product at the right time. Also, listen to your customers and the feedback that they're giving you. They're going to tell you how to make your money. I do it all the time. I listen to them. One of the highest selling items for like the cook shop wasn't even an item in 2018 until I introduced it to the market, and then it became the highest selling item, and it is continuously the highest selling item. And I listen to the consumers. So be able to, do that. I think a lot of first-time entrepreneurs also,
What'd you say?
they don't plan for payroll. They like take the money out of the business. They don't put it back into the business. I'm like, no, you got to put the money, put your resources back into your business, keep your cash. That's how you're going to sustain the business, to keep having these opportunities for consumers to see that you're consistent. And once people see that, then they'll really start rocking with you and supporting your business. But they don't want to develop a relationship with someone who's just a fly-by-night business or individual. So, just follow those basic principles, and you'll be able to sustain and be able to thrive and expand.
Yes, thank you so much, Andres. And I'm sorry, guys, we didn't have enough time for like questions. My timekeeper is right there looking at me without her video on. So please, please take the time to follow your everyone on the panel, and you can reach out to them and ask them if they had any questions. I don't know if Nikki is gone due to the thunderstorm. I hope she's okay. I'll follow up with her. And thank you, everyone. This was incredible. I feel like this was just like a tease. We teased the people and, we didn't have time to dive in. So hopefully we could do this again. And thank you for your time. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. And just to let you know, coming up next, we're going to be jamming out with the DJ again, so you can head back. We'll have another spoken word performance by Rowdy Solomon, and you can attend in person or online one of our 2 breathing sessions, which will be Elevate Your Breathing with Tony Guy at George Byrne Park, which is on the corner of Spring Street and Cherry. or you can go to the Drum Circle with Kwame at the Tubman Museum. If you're not wanting to go in person, these events will be broadcast online right here. So go jam out with the DJ, and we'll see you guys later. Thank you.